What is up, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we are doing another figure review. We are taking a look at the Star Wars The Black Series Sergeant Kreel. This guy is really new. I don't know if I got him early, but Hasbro Pulse did say I was going to get him in like 2023 or at the end of 2022. So I don't know if that was a placeholder date or not. So if you are getting your Sergeant Kreel, let me know down below. But today we will be taking a look at this mighty fine figure, and before we do that, obviously we have to go into the lore, and there are chapters in the description of the video, so if you want to skip the lore segment, you are more than welcome to. But those who actually want to hear about the lore of our boy, let's get right into it. So our boy Kreel over here, also known as Agent 5241, served as an undercover stormtrooper and a scar trooper for the Empire in the 501st Legion. From a very young age, Kreel would devote himself to the Empire, for he believed that the Empire was his savior, for they have taken him away from his tragic previous life and given him purpose. And when he was of age, he would join the Stormtrooper Corps, and eventually with his hard work, he would land a spot as a sergeant in the 501st Legion. Shortly after, Kreel would be recruited by Vader for a special undercover mission to take down Gracchus the Hutt. While his time there, he would run into Luke Skywalker, and a confrontation would break out. Unfortunately, Kreel would fail his mission to capture Luke Skywalker, but did succeed in taking down Gracchus the Hutt. Though Kreel was unable to capture Luke, he was able to find a handful of Jedi artifacts in Gracchus's palace, and shortly after this, he'd become the leader of Task Force 99, which was a Scar squadron of stormtroopers, essentially the Bad Batch, but of stormtroopers. And the coolest part about all this is Kreel would be able to wield a lightsaber and go toe-to-toe with Luke Skywalker once again, but unfortunately in this confrontation, Kreel's lightsaber would be destroyed. And pretty much that's all I'm going to give you on the boy. There's a lot more in between the lines here. If you really want to look into that, you can go to the Wookieepedia page in the description below and read more about it, or you can go look up the comics or find them in person, whatever you want to do, what's best for you. But I do suggest reading the comics or looking at the Wookieepedia page, because this guy has an interesting story that I think is really cool and just makes this guy just a hell of a lot more badass than what I'm, telling you in the video. I just kind of give a brief, kind of description of this guy's backstory, whereas obviously Wookieepedia or the comics make it a lot more fleshed out. So go check those out if you want to. I will have the Wookieepedia link in the description below, and let's get into the figure review. So starting off with the box, there's some pretty sick box art out on the front, and then we look at the sides. We got the boy's name, and then on the back we have this really cool sleek design of him just kind of there chilling, and then on the side we have more comic panels of our boy. Just always something to look at on every angle of the box, which I really like. A brief description of the boy if you haven't seen the lore segment in this video, and the boy himself. So taking him out of the box, everything's looking good. He comes with 2 accessories, a blaster and his lightsaber, and just everything's looking good so far off of just visuals and first impressions. So let's take a look into the figure. So starting off with articulation in the head region of the figure, he can look back and forth and up and down, which is really nice to see. And then he can rotate his head 360 degrees if you want him to. And this is really impressive to see, because usually pauldrons limit the range of motion on a figure's head, but clearly that is not the case here. And he can tilt his head side to side, so very impressive with the range of motion, considering that there's a pauldron on the figure. And then you can flap his arms up and down and rotate them 360 degrees. The shoulder plating is adjustable, so you can move that accordingly to the arm. So that's always nice to see that the shoulder plate isn't going to limit the arm's range of motion. And then the elbow articulation is pretty good. You can bring his forearm up a good amount. And then getting into wrist articulation, it's actually different on each arm. On the right arm, it feels very stiff. You can't really bend his wrist. You can rotate it 360 degrees, but just you can barely bend it. It just feels really stiff, and I just really don't want to break that hand off. And then getting to the left arm, it's a lot looser. You can actually bend his wrist a lot more. I don't know if this is a me issue or what. Then getting to the torso articulation, I wouldn't call it a crunch, but he can move back and forth, so that's good. I just wouldn't call it a crunch. And then he can rotate his torso 360 degrees if you want to do that. And then getting down to the leg articulation, he can't really do a split. He's about halfway there, but you know, not quite there. And then getting to the rotation, you can bring his leg back and forth a good amount. So if you do want him to sit down, you can, but you know, I don't see many people doing that, having him sit in a chair or whatnot. And then getting to the knee articulation, you can't do a butt kick, but he can bring his knee up a good amount, about almost halfway of a butt kick, but enough to, you know, do running poses and all of that. And then you can rotate his calf 360 degrees if you really wanted to do that. And then when it gets to feet articulation, you can bring his feet back and forth and pretty much rotate it however you want, so you can have him stand and displayed however you want him displayed. Then getting into the only accessory of significance, and that is his lightsaber. It's a black handle with a silver hilt. The sculpting is pretty good. There's nothing of significance, but it doesn't do anything bad as well. And then obviously here is his green blade, and if you really felt like it, you can take the blade off of the lightsaber hilt, and you know, it's obviously connected via peg and peg hole, but that's an option there if you want them displayed with the lightsaber not on. And here we are at the turntable segment of the video, where I just go over what I liked, disliked about the figure, and just, you know, overall thoughts. And starting with what I dislike, because I like to get the sour stuff out of the way, I actually don't really have any complaints about this figure. I really like how this figure looks, feels, I have no complaints. The articulation is good. I don't think I had any problems when like feeling out this figure and posing him or anything like that. I just think that he's a very solid figure overall. Despite not having anything I dislike about the figure, I can still talk about what I really do like about this figure, starting with the articulation. And throughout the body, his articulation is fine. It's in the head region that I really do like. On most Star Wars The Black Series figures, if you put a pauldron on a trooper, that pauldron will limit the range of motion that the character has with their head, because the helmet's clashing with the pauldron and the pauldron's pushing into the chest piece and shoulders, so it's just not a good time. But with this guy, he can move his head around, look up, down, all around with the pauldron, and that is something I really adore about this figure. And I think the whole pauldron situation is bonus points for me personally, because I like collecting a lot of troopers, a lot of characters, or just people who wear helmets. I think the only figure on this channel I've reviewed where there's an exception to that is Fennec Shan, but even then she comes with a helmet, but you know, not like as big or as bulky as like the other troopers that I've reviewed on this channel. But yeah, I like collecting stormtroopers, clone troopers, Mandalorians, stuff like that. And you know, pauldrons are a big deal because, you know, it clashes with the helmet and the chest. I've already discussed that. But yeah, no, it's just bonus points for me because I am a trooper collector, and you know, I love to see this. And I really love Kreel's design, just with the pauldron with the Imperial insignia on it, to the data pad and pouch on his arm, and even the pouches on his legs. It just gives him this tactical just look. And even with the jetpack on his back, though it's just kind of a black box on his back, I love how tactical and busy his character design is. And now, if you excuse me, the mic quality of the video might sound better because while recording this video, my old Snowball died and I had to go out and get a new one, so I finally had to get an upgrade, and hopefully I sound better and more alive throughout the video. I know that right now my personality is as flavorful as a piece of white bread, because as recording this, I am fucking tired and aggravated because the microphone that just died was giving me so many issues. But now I have a new microphone, I'm happy, so let's move on with the rest of the video, shall we? And I do understand that design isn't really something a figure can excel in, because it's all subjective whether you like the design or not. That's just something I also really like about this guy, is just how he looks, all the stuff that's going on his armor. I just really love to see that. And I can't really think of anything else this figure does excel in besides the pauldron, because after that it is essentially just a basic stormtrooper figure with a lot going on in his design. So overall, this is just a really good figure. I'm just really happy that the pauldron doesn't limit the range of motion in the head area. After that, this is just a generic stormtrooper action figure, and obviously that the design is unique to the character, but you know, it uses most of the stormtrooper parts. So overall, just a really good figure. It doesn't really excel in anything to such a crazy extent, but it also doesn't do anything bad, at least from what I understand. This figure doesn't do anything bad. If there's something you don't like about this figure, share down below, start a discussion in the comment section. You're more than welcome to. But honestly, that's just how I feel about this figure. Cool design, nice feel, no complaints on my end. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this figure. Do recommend, and if you did like this video, a like and a subscription would be awesome. You don't have to comment down below because that's a lot of effort, and we both know the bell is broken, so don't worry about it. But if you like more content like this, I got more of it on the channel. I also do Halo and some NECA stuff as well. My next video will be another Star Wars The Black Series video, so watch out for that. And with all that said, I will see you in another one.